Welcome to another VC Wisdom Pod with James Spurway. He's co-founder at Indochina Consulting. He's a fundraising expert with strategic vision. He's also a successful entrepreneur and angel investor with exit experience. So we're going to talk about all of these topics today. James, welcome to the pod. Tell me a bit more about yourself and about what you're up to nowadays.
Hey, Charles, thank you. Yeah, look, an older dude who's been through the ups and downs of entrepreneurship now for the last 30 years. So anyone starting out thinking, what's it going to be? Like, where am I going to end up? Well, you're probably ending up, I guess, in many years' time, still an entrepreneur and totally unemployable. I'm sorry to say, like, underline unemployable. Once you start this journey, it's very hard to go back to corporate life. But no, I love what I'm doing. I have this amazing life where I can work wherever I want and live wherever I want, and I have lived all over the world. But B, when you get up every day and you are 100% sure that you're going to encompass and come across unique experiences, you're going to come across problems that haven't been solved, maybe, or at least haven't been solved in this particular way. You're going to meet founders to when you were younger. So I'm a little bit older now, but every time I meet a younger founder, it's like reliving this experience of when you were young and energetic and passionate and wanting to change the world, which I still wanted. I get to work with people like that, A, as a mentor, B, as potentially an investor. And it just means that every day I can sort of go to bed saying, well, we changed the world a little bit today, or we started working on something that's going to change the world a little bit today. And I just can't imagine. I mean, I know that everyone does amazing jobs from, I don't care whether you're kind of like cutting lawns, being a janitor, being a cleaner, you're always doing an amazing job in your own right, right? And I love everyone for getting out there and giving it a go. But I guess I just feel I'm pretty lucky, pretty blessed that I've got that sort of a job or that sort of a career. And, from where I came as a poor country kid, farm boy in Australia, dropping out of school, I would never have imagined that this is where I'd end up. It's like, no idea, no plan, no vision. That wasn't in my life. So yeah, it's pretty amazing, and I love every day that I get up and get a chance to do this.
Right, because farm boy, first job in Vietnam, 5-star hotel as a general manager, which is interesting. You started 10 businesses, exited from 7, shut down 2, and nowadays you're an angel investor. So starting with that 5-star job in Vietnam as a hotel manager, what did you learn from that one?
I think everyone who goes overseas, that was my first overseas posting. I'd worked in Australia, been all over Australia, done different things. And then in the hotel business, it takes you around, right? It moves you around. It's one of those jobs that you always travel. When I got posted to Vietnam, I had been working in Sydney in head office. I'd kind of been in the ivory tower. Everyone thinks about corporate office, the center of their particular business. And it was the biggest culture shock, I guess, any kid, I wasn't a kid then, I was 30 years old, but any person could ever imagine. Why? Because we in Australia, this big island, have this belief that kind of we're the center of the world from down there, but of course we're not. You just have that feeling you are. And then when someone says, here's your chance to explore a different culture and also take on more responsibility corporately and sort of grow, you kind of go, yeah, I want it. And then you land and you go, oh my God, what have I got myself into, right? Because it was like going, this is in 1990, it was like going 8 or 12 hours in the air to land in a country that was somehow 25 or 30 years back in time, like trapped in some sort of a time loop where we come from like semi-developed or developed Australia to these guys had literally been in, and they dealt with the Russians, they traded with the Russians, but that was it, like no Westerners, no foreigners at all. Aid organizations weren't even getting in there. And then they'd kind of had their meeting, their big meeting in Hanoi, and then decided to become socialists. I say that not jokingly, I'm not being try to be like smart, but I mean, they literally had very quickly changed their philosophy. And so you came into a country where nothing was there. I mean, they had roads, obviously they had an airport, but in terms of where the development was, it was putting it nicely, a basket case. I mean, it was broken down, it was deficient, it was lacking, because it had gone through post Vietnam War. It had gone through basically almost 20 years of nothing, like of having to survive on subsistence. So, look, we came in. This was the one time in the world where we could take a barge-built hotel. It was a floating hotel. So take a hotel infrastructure. Imagine just a big, I don't know, river barge, but massive, and building a sort of a hotel infrastructure on top. We had got that built in Singapore, or we had, the owner had that built in Singapore, taken it to Australia, put it on the Barrier Reef. It was a success until a cyclone or typhoon, the infrastructure, but the hotel survived, and the guy went bankrupt. And so the company I was working for, bought it, put it all the way up, took it all the way up and put it in Ho Chi Minh City, and built this beautiful infrastructure on the land. And there we were. We had a physical hotel, but as everyone knows, a hotel runs on its people, right? It's all about the people, the experience. And so no one had ever done this, taken people from off the street in the sense of unemployed, or people from government jobs where they had zero hotel experience, like hadn't ever seen or been in a five-star hotel, and you literally take them and you start training them. Okay, grooming, like hygiene, how to turn up on time, like how to literally do shift work. But then, what is a hotel? What is a five-star hotel? And then kind of try to figure out where they should work, which department. Oh, and by the way, and then teaching everyone English. So we had like a blank piece of paper, and from a blank piece of paper to a five-star hotel when we opened. I mean, we had bugs, we had problems, we had issues, but I guess after a year or so, people were kind of giving us ratings and reviews. Not that there was any Yelp or anything those days, but they were giving us these letters saying, we came to Vietnam quite fearful of coming, but we wanted to come there, and because you were there, like we think so fondly about Vietnam and the experience. So we became the center of the universe. We were literally the place where prime ministers, heads of state, foreign diplomats, Fortune 250 CEOs were staying. And we also had converted some of the rooms into offices. So all the big oil companies, two or three of the heads of, the Australian, the French, the other, I forget, the third, had their consul general, like their initial diplomatic mission, if you like, or forward mission based there. And so it was just, I mean, I can't describe that 3 years or so that I spent there was like 10 years of anyone else's life, or like 10 years in another job. Everything was just compounded and sort of compressed into this time capsule of time. And I think the thing that makes me most happy is 30 years later, I know that the people we trained from nothing several ended up being very successful business people in Vietnam and entrepreneurs themselves. And you can now look up and see, I'd say the top maybe 20% of corporates in Vietnam, someone in there has come from our training, like worked in the hotel and then went on their own path, went on their own journey. And that's sort of a good feeling, that you gave someone a chance and then they took that chance and made a life out of it. So yeah, I'm pretty happy about that time. It was pivotal in me being an entrepreneur, and it was also pivotal in understanding the essence of a startup. And it's really the people. It's not the hardware, it's not the physical side, it's the interactions, it's the culture.
Right.
It's how it's still customers, right?
And then you went on to found Dalat Cable Car JVC, Dynex Corp in Geneva. I guess that's a place of registration with algorithmic trading. You went on to found various energy company. And that finally led you to the tech world, sort of. So with all of these niches, with all of these industries and these different targets, which one was like a super product market fit and made you tons of money?
I guess, yeah, the actual FX hedge fund or FX currency trading group I was not just the only founder. Actually, the person who founded that, or was the architect, Peter Panholzer, was an amazing gentleman from Austria who I think now lives in Canada. But basically, Peter was someone who had a classic. Um, what do you call that? Sorry, he played piano. So he was like someone who was like a concert pianist. Could have had his own recitals. Was also an architect and was working as an architect in America when he, I guess, like a lot of us, right? A lot of entrepreneurs get an itch, get something that sort of doesn't let them do what they should be doing. And he had an itch and wanted to do something else. And as he tells the story, he was walking along the street in Chicago one day and saw a sign outside a building saying traders wanted, and literally walked in off the street, applied, and he became one of the biggest and best commodity traders in a company called Refico back in the day in Chicago. No, so I met Peter and we formed a different company, formed an extra couple of, like, put an extra couple of structures in place. We were the most successful currency trading advisor in the day. We won awards for 3 years or 4 years in a row. And for a small startup to sort of take on the established large organizations, hedge funds, that in itself was hugely satisfying. And yes, we took it from 6 million under management to 160 or something like that. It actually may have been more over a period of 2.5 to 3 years. I think that proves that you can do anything, because we had literally gone from someone who was doing okay to someone who was a household name in this industry, in this sector. And we had prime ministers, we had central banks, we had top 10 world banks, we had hedge funds, family offices, and we were close to getting even a sovereign wealth fund from the Middle East as clients. So, I mean, you don't kind of do that unless you do a good job. And again, I get back to looking after the customers, doing a good job in performance. And that was a hugely successful and hugely, I guess, influential part of my life. But I tell you, my job was to go and get the customers, the rainmaker. So I spent a lot of my time flying around the world, sometimes 2 or 3 weeks in a month. And unfortunately, the result of that was that 3 years after starting, I ended up with a heart attack and just about died. So there is a downside to being successful, and that is if you put yourself under pressure. No one else put me under pressure. It was me, right? You put yourself under pressure to perform or to grow bigger quicker, which is what most tech startups find themselves going through. There is a health risk, and that's the caveat to all people who want to be successful, right? If you don't think about the side effects or ignore the obvious things that are happening, someday you could end up like me, and that's basically flatlining 4 times in 6 hours, and the last time was for 90 seconds. So yeah, you don't want to be there.
How did that happen precisely? Because yeah, flying all the time messes up your sleep cycle. You get like a bunch of radiation flying. It's just stressful most of the time. And also like doing deals, sometimes they don't pan out. Sometimes the
Yeah,
money, the ups and the downs. So like, how did that
yeah.
happen precisely? And did it happen in a country that you were familiar with?
Yeah, look, that was the lucky part, if you can call having a heart attack. Well, technically, it wasn't a heart attack, meaning my heart was not the heart function was actually okay. What happened was there's a signal that goes from your brain to your heart to tell it to beat, right, to pulse, and that electrical signal. There's a little thing on your heart called a node, little part where the kind of electrical signal comes in, and that node somehow restricts or contracts or something the muscle, and hence it beats. That on me kind of stopped working or deteriorated or degraded. So the flatlining was because my heart stopped. It literally the signal went to the heart, didn't get transmitted, heart stopped, and it happened on a Sunday afternoon in my own house in Germany. So I was at home in Germany with I guess Brendan was only about 18 months old, just a toddler, not even walking or anything, or maybe just walking. My wife was in Vietnam, so I was on my own. And I felt funny. I felt like a bit dizzy. And I went to get the phone to sort of call someone and didn't make it. And so I woke up the first time. So the first time was not a flatline, it was just fainting. I woke up and I'm on the floor, not quite. I sort of got to the phone, didn't see my son. He'd now disappeared. He was on the bed when I last saw him, but he was in the house. Um, and the weirdest thing, right? I lived at the time. Actually, our house is still there. Lived literally, what, 250 meters away from the hospital. We literally could walk across the road and up the street, and that the hospital was there. But my brain said, call my mother-in-law, because I guess I'm hardwired to think of getting people who know what the hell to do in case you don't know. And I was still a foreigner in a foreign country. So I managed to dial my mother-in-law and say, I need help. And I then passed out again. And so they had a spare key. They got in, found me again, this time still blacked out. Luckily, no heart, no kind of like heart had stopped at this point. But the ambulance came and they just got me in the ambulance apparently, and then the heart stopped. That was the first time on the way to the hospital. So yeah, look, I woke up. I that was about 2 in the afternoon, roughly. I woke up. I came back to consciousness and remember when it was 8 o'clock at night. So I lost 6 hours. I woke up at the hospital with the lady on who was like the number 2 in the hospital, but she was on duty that day, kind of looking very worried and saying, "Oh, we're so happy you're back. You're not in a good shape. Like you're not doing so well. We're going to have to transfer you by helicopter to the clinic in Munich, in southern Germany, because they're the heart specialists." So yeah, that was 10 days of intensive care, in and out of consciousness, losing this sort of going flatlining a couple of times. My wife came back, flew all the way back from Vietnam, very distressing for her. And but I came through it, right? I kind of survived, and they put a pacemaker in, and I've had a pacemaker ever since. And honestly, don't even think about it. I mean, I literally see it sometimes, and you feel it, and you kind of go, "Hell, I got a pacemaker." But other than that, it doesn't enter my brain that I've got this pacemaker. It's like I don't think of things as being any different. And although I took it easy for about 2 years, I got to say that I haven't really since then, right? I kind of like went right back into, I wouldn't say crazy business, but pushing myself and just easing off when I felt tired. When I now feel tired, I stop. I don't keep going. I kind of just take a break, because it's the going past the point of fatigue that causes the body to start really stressing.
Right. And how did that influence your mind, knowing that you almost have died? Did it change like your path and your vision and
Yeah.
what you're trying to accomplish in this life?
Yes, it did. I went from thinking that making money is what a company is supposed to do, and really what we are supposed to do. We're supposed to make money and put money aside and look after the next generation. I still did that, but how I did it changed, because I went from thinking transactional business is okay to thinking there's not a lot of um, eh, it doesn't make like transactional business itself doesn't make a lot of sense. Buying and selling something in a way is, you can do it and it's a skill, and the people who do it well are very skilled. But what am I creating? Like, what am I leaving behind? Nothing really. In a way, it happens, and then there's no visible sign that something has been created, or you've sort of grown something or developed something. And so that was the start of my looking at how I could be involved in something that felt like I could, you know, go to sleep at night saying I helped someone build something today, or I helped create something today. And so I guess I wouldn't have become an angel investor if I hadn't have done if this hadn't have happened to me. I probably would have kept on, I'd say, building hedge funds, like becoming bigger in the transactional sense. So yeah, that led to me being more in tune with being an angel investor. And then from the angel investor point of view, you kind of like also have a journey of, you start somewhere and then you kind of move towards what feels right, what you relate to, what you feel more in tune with. And that's been a kind of a transitional journey as well. I guess it's good we can learn, is all I'm saying, right? It's good that we can change and learn and adapt, and you've got to keep on going until you have this feeling of the outer world and the inner world lining up, which is where I've been for the last 5 years. Like I really feel like I've aligned my mission and vision and what I do so that every day there's still tension and stress. Kel, you can't do any business without tension and stress, but there's not this conflict of, am I in the right space, or why am I doing this, or, could I be doing something different? That's gone. I know I'm in the right space. I'm doing what I should do, and the only question is, can I do more, right? Or can I help more people? That's really the only question I have every day. So yeah, no, that was very important in a bad way, in a good way. Everything's, Charles, I actually am grateful for the good and the bad. Every day in the morning, part of my gratitude morning routine is saying that I'm grateful for the good and the bad. Literally, I'm grateful for the things that happened to me yesterday that weren't good, and the things that were good. And you need both, right? You need to have both, and you need to be grateful for both. So I was not grateful at the time about nearly dying and all the things that happened after that and the stress in it, but I was grateful later on for the wake up call, like for that showing me that I wasn't doing the right thing, that I wasn't on the right path. Yeah.
What about like health tech? Because you've got a pacemaker like maintaining you alive, and me, I have three main moonshots. I want to live forever. I want to create an AGI, and
Yeah.
I want to create a Neuralink.
Yeah.
Nowadays, it feels that the AGI is somewhat near, and possibly with the AGI, I can create something that will have me alive forever.
Yeah.
But it feels that I'm undervaluing health. Why? Because I don't have any health problems until it strikes, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
I might have a vision that, oh, I need to like start my next health tech and so forth. So my
Yeah.
thesis right now is just like wealth based, as much as I can amass wealth and power, and then
Yeah.
use that wealth and power to possibly fund health tech or create one of my own. So what do you think about that thesis? Do you think I should be like starting a health tech since health is important and I want to live forever, or should I just continue pursuing money and power?
No, I believe you really have to transition from the money and power at some point into something where you are satisfying the urge or the need in you. Everyone has a need or an urge to be well, let's the basic ones, right? Love, respect, acceptance, all those things, but also the need to feel like you're doing something good. Everyone, I think, needs to feel like they're contributing, and it's just that some of us can contribute more, and we should. And you should push yourself. You should make yourself, I think, uncomfortable. Like push yourself to the point where you're doing more than you really want to do, and you're doing more than you think you can do, because everyone can honestly grow every year, every day, more than they think they can. The question I would say there is, and this is why I've avoided going into certain startups, or doing certain startups, I should say. I learned early that I've got an amazing ability to see a problem and solve it. But at the same time, I also know that if you have a passion for something, but not a technical expertise, you can get so far, but there's always going to be other people who'll probably get to a same position quicker and faster because of their ability, their understanding of how this all works. Not that you can't learn that. I mean, I can learn things too. But health tech has always been one that I've looked at and gone, I think I know what I want, what I would do, but then I look at the capability set that I have and look at my kind of ability to bring in a team to create the best team to attack that problem, and they're already doing something else, or they don't need my skill set, right? Which is more or less raising money and pretty good at operations. So I went the other way. I went, okay, if I'm going to do that, I'll invest in health tech. I'll try and help other people get to that goal, because that will help people, humanity, and maybe eventually me. And I think that makes more sense for me. So still grow your asset base, still keep on doing what you have to do to get money. You need more money to invest. I'm not saying stop that side. Without the money, you can't invest. And eventually the investments create money, and then you can sort of stop maybe transactional to go more into just more angel investing, or eventually a fund or whatever. But if you want to do a startup, I still say to people, do it in a domain where you feel you know something, not everything, but something enough to know that you could be competitive, enough to know you could attract good talent, because you alone is not going to make it, right? You need the team, and the team generally won't join someone who may be a nice guy or nice girl and really good, but they're going to want to join people who know a little bit about the area, right? Because then they feel safe that this startup's going to succeed. That would be my only caveat.
Right.
Apart from that, there's enough examples about people who've gone into businesses where they haven't got expertise and been successful. So you're like, it's just me. I'm a little bit that way, is all I'm saying. And I've kind of like, I still want to do another startup. I may even do another startup, like I said, soon, with having got into the Antler program in Singapore. But that will probably be a climate tech or climate change related sort of startup. And that's really because I think there I have got an advantage and I have got access. And there's a couple of ideas that I really have already thought about that may or may not work that I think I could explore. But other than that, no, I'm investing in things I like and things that are going to help us because there's brighter, smarter, better teams out there than I could probably pull together.
Right. Well, James, thanks for today. Neat run on my side, but where can people find out more about you?
I'm pretty old fashioned. I still just use LinkedIn as my main social platform. I mean, I do a lot of I Twitter. I get on to Twitter or X a lot because I've got some friends there in the industry. But that's me contributing as opposed to me sort of putting out a shingle. So LinkedIn, it's called the fund. I actually should be under my name, but I'm calling myself the fundraising angel on LinkedIn. So yeah, you know, you just have to use the fundraising angel and you'll find me on LinkedIn.